to her. Everything goes to her now.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York for sales and service. Make sure you get in touch with them Monday through Saturday at Great Lakes Honda City. And, of course, you can get a sneak peek of everything that Great Lakes Honda City has to offer you by going to greatlakeshondacity.com, 24/7, open for you. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So we thank you for being with us all over the world, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, happy to be here on a Thursday, as always, with Papa Joe, who will join us in just a moment inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics and guests for the day. PJ will join us here in hour number one. We got a lot of things to talk about. Bill Belly's not getting a first ballot Hall of Fame opportunity. We'll discuss that. Somebody don't like bellies, I guess. Then we'll get into Darian Mensah and the craziness that is here with us inside of the transfer portal, and a lot of things going on. Darian Mensah going to his third team in 3 years, and we will also speak on the college football playoff. They've made the decision to stay at 12 for this year. I just think that this is a space holder so that they can have another year of discussions within the College Football Playoff Management Committee, which is made up of the 10 FBS conference commissioners, as well as the athletic director of Notre Dame. So we'll discuss how the playoff 12 amount is not changing, but there are some changes that are happening to the CFP as far as opportunity and how you get in. So we'll discuss that in just a little bit. Then we'll talk about the NFL playoffs with the upcoming title game here, not this weekend, but next weekend, as the Patriots will take on the Seahawks. In hour number two at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, I'll be joined by Scottie Rodgers. Scottie is no stranger to the broadcast, the VP of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which is one of the 6 bowl games inside of the college football playoff, with the opportunity to be part of the path to our national champion in the CFP every single year. Scottie and I were together for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic going into New Year's. And, of course, I also saw him on the road and was with him with the College Football Playoff National Championship. He was on site on location for that. So we'll discuss a lot of things with Scottie, including his take on the same amount of teams, but a little bit of a difference as far as how you get in, who gets in, and whatnot. So Scottie and I will talk about the recent CFP results, the College Football Playoff Management Committee keeping the 12-team model, what's changed with that model, as well as the state of college football and experiencing Miami. So with all of that being said, plenty of CFP this morning and plenty of football talk. Let's bring in Papa Joe, P to the Jizzle, J. Edgar Twiz, the Go-So, the grand old smooth one, Mrs. Dad, Missa. Love Missa.
This is me.
And of course,
this is me.
And of course, the lesser half of MT. So what are we doing, PJ? How are we doing?
Well, Daniel, it's cold down here. You people may not understand that. It got down to 33 degrees last night, and MT lost a lot of her plants, so she's bit.
Yeah. Well.
So it's cold. It's cold for us.
Yeah, it's cold for y'all, and I'm sad for MT's plants and the frost and whatnot. You know, it's definitely strange for you all to have these cold temperatures. It's normal here to be outside and just wonder why you're even standing outside for a minute. But yeah, I mean it's cold up here. It's cold down there. There was an ice rink in Dallas, Texas. They said the ice was everywhere. Charlotte had nothing. They had a bunch of stuff. They had no way, and this is how it is, and they said this about North Carolina, about Texas, they don't know how to deal with it, right? We have infrastructure. We have plows. We have salt. We have all this stuff. Places that are not used to getting this weather, like down south and obviously even in the Charlotte area, they don't have room for plows. They don't have anywhere to put the snow. They don't have any salt. They don't have any machinery. So I've heard from the ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips. I've heard from people that are down in Texas, like Will Nixon, who comes from Washington and Syracuse and is training for the NFL draft right now at the running back position, who's down in the great state of Texas, that it has been a blank show about how things have been going on in different parts of the country where there isn't a lot of infrastructure or preparation for this. And I know Florida is one of those places, PJ. So I hope that you all stay warm. I hope that we can salvage some plants and that everything will be okay and you guys will get back to some normalcy of weather. I know it rains sometimes in Florida in January, but I'm not used to it being really, really, really cold outside of maybe once or twice. So hopefully it gets better down there.
That's true. Thank you for that. Meatball number one is driving a truck.
Yeah.
And he hooked up with a local delivery guy or people. He's got to go to California and back a couple times a month. And he was right in the middle of that snowstorm. He was stuck on a mountain in Oklahoma for 4 hours. The cars couldn't move. The police couldn't get in there. Wrecks all over the place, and he was scared. Believe me, for my kids to be scared driving, he was scared. So you're dealing with 50,000 pounds of trailer and tractor, and it's amazing. I'm glad he's home. I'm glad he's home.
Yeah.
So you do what you can. He wants to do that. Supplement monies with his business. So I'm not sure that's going to work out, but I think he's either going to have to do one or the other, and he'll get paid pretty handsomely if he does it. If he goes and takes the truck around.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, but we go to the grocery store, we expect there to be groceries. We go to hardware stores, expect there to be tools there for us, the things that we need. We get up and we go places with the anticipation that the shelves will not be bare, but we don't always thank the people that stock those shelves or provide the opportunity. So shout out to my big brother, Meatball number one. And Joe, wherever you are this morning, we love you. And hopefully I'll get to see you soon. PJ, there's a lot of things for us to get into. First and foremost, like you call it, the angry lobster boat captain. Well, he might be angrier this morning as he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer for some odd reason. The people that vote, and I get to vote in a lot of polls. I'm not voting in this one. It'd be nice to do it. I wouldn't have voted against Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'll give you some context here. He's won 8 Super Bowls, and in voting earlier this month, he fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame during the first year of eligibility. And so Belichick received a call from a Hall representative Friday afternoon, which I'm guessing was this past week, with the news that he won't be inducted in Canton, Ohio this summer. Obviously, when he does get inducted, I'm sure, knowing his dry humor, he'll probably make a comment about this and how it didn't happen. So Belichick asked an associate, quote, 6 Super Bowls isn't enough, end quote, referring to the championships that he won with the New England Patriots. He won 2 as defensive coordinator with the New York Giants before that. And allegedly to another associate, he said, what does a guy have to do? And another person close with Belichick said, quote, politics kept him out. He doesn't believe this is a reflection on his accomplishments, end quote. Now, Belichick did not comment directly to anyone, but a spokesperson for the Hall said in a statement, quote, the Pro Football Hall of Fame does not comment on the voting of the selection committee and awaits the unveiling of the class of 2026 at NFL Honors on February 5th in San Francisco, which is next week, end quote. NFL coaching record of 333 wins, 178 losses, including the playoffs. Career victories second only to Don Shula, who had 347 wins. Belichick was considered by most fans and Hall voters to be a first ballot lock. The Hall's voting committee is composed mostly of veteran NFL reporters, but also includes football figures such as former GM Bill Polian and former head coach Tony Dungy, both of whom are Hall of Famers. This year, Belichick was a finalist with Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner, and Belichick's co-architect of what happened in New England. It marked the first time that Kraft, 84, was a Hall of Fame finalist after 14 years of campaigning on his behalf by his team's longtime PR man and other supporters. Kraft and Belichick have become bitter antagonists since parting ways in July 2024, allegedly. I mean, that's what some people say, but we don't know them personally. Well, I don't know them personally. On January 13th, voters met. I have gotten to interview Belichick, but on January 13th, voters met from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. to discuss and debate the qualifications of this year's finalists, which also included 3 senior candidates: former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson, San Francisco running back Roger Craig, and the late L.C. Greenwood, who is a defensive end of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we don't know why, but some have suspected that it had to do with the cheating scams, Spygate, Deflategate, stuff like that. But this is where we are, PJ. The man who has won 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach, who brought the New England Patriots into the history books, built a dynasty, and has the second most wins ever in NFL history, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which begs the question, well, then who the hell is?
Daniel, I'm flummoxed. I don't know what to say. I read that, and I had to read it again. Then I went to a different site, and I had to read that again just to understand what's going on. I don't understand who's voting for this. I don't understand why, and no offense to you or myself either, I don't know why media has to vote in this situation. It should be the sport itself, retired general managers, retired owners, Those are the people of substance, not some podunk guy who writes for the San Jose Times or something like that. No offense, San Jose, but I don't get it. Tom Brady said it best. He says, I don't understand this. Yeah. That's what he said. And, Tom Brady is not a man for a loss of words. If you listen to him on his telecasts, he's extremely good and sharp. So for him to say something like that, he doesn't simply understand it. He's dealt with these people for almost 30 years. And who would have thought that the most successful coach, other than Dom Shula and Vince Lombardi, for the first time, for the first ballot? It's abomination. It's just, you can't think about it. You can't wrap your head around it and come up with some rational decisions how they did this. Yeah. What could they possibly have uncovered that the rest of the nation already doesn't know? Sure, there's Spygate and Deflategate, all that kind of stuff. Well, if you take those 2 away, he's still a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, come on, people. I don't know who's going to be held accountable for this, but they're telling me that he couldn't get 30 out of 40 votes, 31 out of 40 votes to go to Hall of Fame. So that means 10 guys or ladies or 9 or 10 did not vote for this man. I'd like to know who they are and what was the rationale for voting this way. Yeah. I mean, are you saying that he's a terrible coach? Are you saying he's kind of a dirtbag? Sure, he's a grumpy lobster bowl captain. That's his persona. That's his personality. You know what? He's not going to say anything either. He can get on and toot his own horn and lambaste the selection committee, but that's not him. He's not going to do that. Yeah. So he's going to water on off his back and let Tom Brady carry the ball for him, like he has for so many years.
Yeah, it's disgraceful to me, and it's a mockery of voting. I mean, to me, this is ridiculousness. Now, I appreciate that I, as a member of the media, I get to vote in a ton of different things, and those have been added to this past year, and I'm very grateful. I vote for the NFL Player of the Year. I vote for the Coach of the Year in the NFL now, and here's the thing. You have to be impartial, right? If I get, let's say I'm voting in a college football poll, and somebody in that poll that's up for the award, somebody that's up for whatever I'm voting for. Let's say they play for a team that I don't like, right? Not that I don't like any teams, but for argument's sake, let's just say, oh, I'm not a fan of whatever team. I got to take that out of it, right? These media people, now it's Bill Belichick, and we know he has an attitude. So, could this simply be that here's somebody that, there's 10 voters in the room. Of these 50 voters, there's somebody in that room where he was a jerk in an interview, or he didn't show up, or he didn't answer any questions, or whatever that may be. But the thing is you're not being asked if he's a good interviewer. You're not being asked if he's a nice guy. You're being asked, is this person worthy of the Hall of Fame? And yes, there are these things that have gone on, and it seems like Spygate was like proven, but not, but it's strange. And the same thing with the deflate thing. It's like, well, maybe it happened, but maybe it didn't in this and that. Ultimately, Bill Belichick is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And this brings me back to Derek Jeter. It brings me back to Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron. The first unanimous vote to get into the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, the National Baseball Hall of Fame. The first unanimous person was Mariano Rivera. Now, he's a closer and arguably the greatest of all time. But he caught flack from people that how can you get in when you're not a real pitcher? How can you get in when you're not a starter? And I said, wait a minute. Don't fault Mariano Rivera because idiots were voting and didn't put the other people in. How do you look at Babe Ruth and say, I'm going to vote against him? How do you look at Hank Aaron and say, I'm going to vote against him? I'm going to vote against Jeter. I'm going to vote against Randy Johnson. How do you sit in a room, look at the talent of these individuals, and vote against them so that you can be that one person in history that can say you did it because you have a vendetta, because they flirted with your wife? Like, what is the deal of why you did this? Now, granted, I do think that the human element comes into this. And if you're a scumbag, well, then, yeah, it's hard to vote for somebody like that. If I know a coach is a really good coach, but I know he's cheated on his wife 9 times, that's going to be a hard moment for me in figuring that out and having to sit with that. I've always said that it comes down to who you are as a human being, too. But listen, there's some fantastic human beings that aren't great head coaches. And there's some great head coaches that aren't the most moral and value-driven people. So it's a hard thing to navigate. But again, this Bill Belichick thing brings me back to the fact that nobody's been voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame unanimously except for Mariano Rivera. PJ, that's insane. That makes no sense. Sandy Koufax? Like that Nolan Ryan? Somebody voted against Nolan Ryan. Really? I mean, we're sitting in a world where there are people in rooms that argue against the greatest players of all time. Argue against people that set records that lasted almost forever. And so, I mean, I look at this vote like I look at some other votes, like I look at the AP. Okay? I know the media votes in the AP. I don't know, and I'm not saying all of them. But there are people that vote in the AP that must not watch football or must do an inordinate amount of drugs on Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, you said it well. It's going to be a topic that hashed about for years or for months, probably for years. But it's certain that he'll be elected next year or so. I guess he's going to have to wait a year, but the whole thing just doesn't set well for me. I don't get it.
No, it's been very
anyway.
It's been very
We have
strange.
people.
So, Mr. Belichick, we believe you'll be in there eventually. But see, the thing is Belly's he was coaching, so he had some control over his team. Ultimately they're going to do what they want to do on the field, but this is something he has no control over. So maybe he pissed somebody off somewhere along the way, and this is their way of showing him that they have control now. I don't know.
Well, he's a gruff person. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's a gruff guy. I mean, he doesn't say the things that people want him to say. He's not very opinionated. He's droll, if you could use that. He's just not a warm and fuzzy guy. And some people, I guess, don't like that. They don't like that. So right now, he's trying to get some kids graduated college and play football.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this. But obviously, Bill Belichick is more than a Hall of Famer based on everything that he did. I think if he did half of it, he was a Hall of Famer. So we're going to move on here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Darian Mensah. This is a guy who I've gotten to interview. He's come across my desk twice, and he'll come across my desk again. I do a lot of coverage of the American and the ACC, as well as my overall national coverage of college football. So I know Darian Mensah's name from his time in Tulane. I interviewed him when he became a Duke Blue Devil. And if you want some irony, PJ, and you want the transfer portal to really become a real tangible thing, they had the American kickoff and the ACC kickoff both in Charlotte. I left the ACC kickoff, came out of the building when I finished talking with all the teams, walked to the other side of the street behind the building I was at, and here's this building that the American was at. It was that close. You came out of the ACC hotel, you went up a little hill, crossed the street, and you go into that convention center, and that's where the American was. Darian Mensah has got all Duke, talking about Duke, and I just interviewed him. Then I go and sit with John Summerall in the Tulane Green Wave in the building behind the building that Mensah is in of the team that he used to play on. That's how real the transfer portal was. It was one building behind another building in the same city, and Tulane and Duke, both in Charlotte at the same time. Now, Darian Mensah agreed with Duke to a settlement of their dispute that cleared the way for him to commit to Miami. Mensah confirmed his commitment to the Hurricanes on social media this past Tuesday, and he'll be joined by wide receiver Cooper Barkate, his top target with the Duke Blue Devils. And I saw Cooper and Darian Mensah when Syracuse went up against Duke this past season, and Cooper had a fantastic game. Both committed Tuesday night after the duo went to a steakhouse in Miami Beach alongside some current and former Miami players. Duke officials sued Mensah in Durham County Superior Court on January 20th in an attempt to prevent him from transferring and to try and enforce his multi-year NIL contract he signed with the school. The Blue Devils entered Mensah's name in the NCAA transfer portal January 21st, but he was not permitted to enroll at another school until a North Carolina judge ruled on the school's injunction request. A preliminary injunction hearing had been scheduled for Thursday. This is from Mensah's agency, Young Money APAA Sports. This is their statement. Quote, "Through close collaboration and principled negotiation, we have successfully navigated an unprecedented path, one that has now reached a fair and mutually agreeable resolution." End quote. A source close to the situation had said to ESPN that Duke's lawsuit was, quote, "always about upholding a contract," end quote, adding that the school was eager to move forward and not engage in a protracted legal battle with a student-athlete. Duke did not release the terms of the settlement, but said the agreement suitably addressed the school's primary concerns. Mensah, the number 5 overall player in ESPN's transfer rankings, now joins the Miami Hurricanes, who lost by just one possession in the College Football Playoff National Championship that I was at, a little over a week ago. Now, Duke said in a statement, quote, "We are committed to fulfilling all promises and obligations Duke makes to our student-athletes when we enter into contractual agreements with them, and we expect the same in return. Enforcing those agreements is a necessary element of ensuring predictability and structure for athletic programs. It is nonetheless a difficult choice to pursue legal action against a student and teammate. For this reason, we sought to resolve the matter fairly and quickly. Duke remains dedicated to the welfare of all student-athletes, and we appreciate them for the talent, dedication, and commitment to excellence they demonstrate both on and off the field. We also remain committed to upholding the integrity of our athletic programs and institutional guidelines. We thank Darian for his contributions to Duke University," end quote. Now, Mensah had previously announced on December 19th he intended to return to Duke in 2026 after considering entering the NFL draft. Mensah's multi-year NIL deal with Duke, which expires December 31st, was believed to be worth up to $4 million for the upcoming year. On January 16th, the final day of the January transfer portal window, Mensah reversed course and informed Duke head coach Manny Diaz he intended to transfer. Duke's attorneys wrote in a lawsuit that Mensah violated the terms of his NIL agreement by, quote, disclosing its monetary terms, seeking to license his NIL in football into another collegiate institution, seeking his enrollment of another institution, initiating contact with admissions or athletic staff at another institution, failing to notify Duke University if he is contacted by another institution or its representatives, and or acting in a way that has now harmed his image and the image of Duke University by ignoring the terms and conditions of his contract. End quote. So, we know that Miami had Cam Ward, and then he became the number 1 pick and was a rookie this past season in the 2025-26 season for the Tennessee Titans. We know that they had Carson Beck this season, who is now heading to the NFL draft himself. Miami seems to be on a path of they will find their quarterback of the upcoming season via the transfer portal and not through growth in the system, as of right now. So now they have Darian Mensah, who's had 2 years in 2 different schools. PJ, your thoughts on this? And secondly, overall, if he did in fact breach his contract and it was for a multi-year deal, we already know that a lot of things in collegiate athletics don't matter. Handshakes, looking in their eye, stating it. But if a signed contract has no validity, have we essentially crashed the system of college athletics?
This is another embarrassing part of what you especially have to talk about all the time. This should not have happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say other than I wonder if the kid even goes to classes there. I don't know what his grade point average is, but the way the kid's going, he's probably going to go to 4 schools in 4 years. The coaches are under such pressure to win. They're to take us some chances outside of what the rules, the parameters are. Look what's happening with Ole Miss and Dabo Swinney, and that now there's tampering there.
Yeah.
What's going on there? And Dabo said, "Hey, listen, you're going to mess with me. I'm going to turn you in." And what is this? What we're left with? Are we left for just adjudicating these cases and don't have anything else to say about it? I don't get it. I'm pissed anyway because the whole structure is just broken, and you can't blame anyone but the NCAA. And now coaches these kids have agents. The agents are dealing with the AD and the coaches to get more money for they can go to school and don't go to class, probably.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this. As someone who conducts business every day, somebody who cares about what I do and how I do it, the relationships, what I uphold, my word, their word, I'm a person that if I shake your hand and I look you in the eye, it's a done deal. But I sign contracts because, unfortunately, in my life, I have had to chase people down. And if you think that small businesses, large businesses, we don't deal with stuff, if you look at people that have broken their contracts with my company alone, tens of thousands of dollars. One guy said, "Sue me, get in line. Everybody else is doing it." That was his response. So when you look at business, it is very important, critical, that we have legal binding agreements. And when you have a legal and a binding agreement, a contract, it says what you're going to do. It says what they're going to do. And then when you both sign it, it's now a reality. The NCAA lost control a long time ago. I made a prediction 8 years ago. And that prediction was stated as such: 5 to 10 years from now, the NCAA, if they keep going the way they're going, will cease to exist or they will look drastically different. Well, 8 years after that prediction, they look drastically different and they're on the precipice of non-existence. We have to have rules. Society needs structure. Anarchy will burn your car, loot your streets, and demolish your businesses and homes. We are dealing with collegiate athletic anarchy. Not that players shouldn't get some money, but it has to be structured. Not that you can't transfer, but it has to be structured. Not that you can't figure something out if you feel like you're in the wrong place, but there has to be something to a contract. You have to be able to say, remember when the NFL had contracts and the owners had all the control, the players had nothing. They said, you're signed for 8 years. Well, 3 years in, I don't want to be here anymore. I hate this team. Well, you got 5 more years on your contract and you can leave. Now in the NFL, you sign a 12-year deal, and in the first year you go, I don't really like this place. And then they trade you because they don't want to upset you. They want to make sure that they don't have anybody unhappy in their locker room. They got all this money, everything tied up, and they let you go. Maybe they even pay the other team to take you. We have to be structured, and we're not doing that. The NCAA is murdering itself. It's taking a little bit of antifreeze every day in its morning oatmeal. And I will tell you this and tell you this clearly. The state of collegiate athletics exists today, and I warned you back around COVID time when everything seemed to get pushed through. There's a pandemic going on, and all of these wild changes to the NCAA are being thrown into collegiate athletics during a pandemic. Why? Because people were more focused on something else than that. I don't think half of this stuff could have been pushed through if not for the pandemic. People are opportunistic, and sometimes they're opportunistic when they perceive you to be weak or not paying attention. And California passed the law for NIL, which forced all other 49 states to do the same thing when they weren't ready, weren't prepared, and didn't really know what this thing was going to be. So why are we here today? Well, that's easy. Go back, look at the first domino in California, and follow it throughout the country. I'm not saying there shouldn't have been something for student athletes, but the country simply wasn't ready. And if the NCAA wants to know why they are where they are, there's a mirror. Look at it. We'll take a step aside for a fast... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Now the kids can wear patches on their uniforms to apparently show off who they're signed with. Now, if you're a professional golfer, these guys are all rigged up with patches.
Yeah.
Now our collegiate athletics are rigged. I mean, pretty soon basketball players will have patches on their jersey that says Syracuse. So they can wear patches now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, we're gonna see, and I mean, if that happens and they allow it, we're gonna see college football. I mean, NFL players can't even do that. But if you could do it in college football, which again has no rules, we're gonna see guys on the college football field that look like NASCAR drivers. So
right.
With that being said, NCAA, nobody to blame but yourselves, and find some better lawyers. There's no like Johnny Cochran-esque person out there right now. Remember how Johnny Cochran, and whoever it was, he represented OJ, he represented Diddy. If he was alive right now, maybe he would have made sure Diddy didn't have to go to court. But the NCAA lawyers, they seem to lose every time from everything that I hear from people. So let's get some better lawyers. You're a $1 billion industry. You can afford a lawyer up, figure it out, create a plan, create rules. Because if Darian Mensah can break a contract that's a multi-year deal, let's say it is. Let's say he was supposed to be under contract this entire year. If he can break that contract and go somewhere else and you allow it to happen, guess what? Everyone's going to do that. Now contracts mean nothing. You are at a point where almost nothing means anything in collegiate athletics. If you take contracts away, well, Dan, coaches sign contracts and and that's wrong too. But there's buyouts and there's all this stuff going on. This is what I would do to Darian Mensah. What's left on your deal? You want to go to Miami? That's fine. You got $4 million left on your deal? You got to pay that to me between now and June 1st. Well, I don't have $4 million, sir. Not my problem. I hope Miami gives it to you. Well, if they give me the 4, then and I give it to you, then I have nothing. Oh, well, I guess that's called personal responsibility and having repercussions for your actions. These schools have to protect themselves. The college model has to protect itself. If you allow someone to breach a contract, punish them. I'm not here witch hunting Darian Mensah. I'm stating an obvious fact as a business person. If Darian was in my office breaching a contract that, let's just say, was until December 31, 2026, he can go, but he's going to pay me to go, or else he's not going to go. Because if I allow him to sign this and it means nothing, and now I don't get the money, or now he doesn't get what he was promised and I don't get what I was promised, if I let him just walk away, take me out of it. What am I teaching him? I'm teaching him that his word means nothing, his agreement means nothing, a signature means nothing, and he never has to be responsible for his actions. This kid's a young man in society. If I teach him that he never has to answer for what he does and there's no repercussions for what he says and puts out there, I am now putting a person in society that doesn't think that there is ever going to be a consequence for what they say and do. And for that simple lesson, I wouldn't let him leave with nothing. Let's take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this to talk about how the new Gators coach is not allowing you to put the logo on your jersey. We'll talk about that after that.
I love it. I love it.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen, and we hand bread our chicken, and we hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. It could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad, despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here. We just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and then those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We're hanging out here with PJ. PJ, of course, on Thursdays, and we have a little bit more to go this morning before we jump into our conversation with Mr. Scottie Rodgers. And we're getting right in the Great Lakes Honda City Studios to the John Summerall situation, the new head coach of the Florida Gators, who I've gotten to know over the years as the head coach of the Tulane Green Wave. Well, guess what, folks? Here we are. Summerall gave his players shorts, shirts, and other gear without any Gators logos. It was reminiscent of Hall of Fame coach Urban Meyer's approach in 2005, which paid off with 2 national titles in the first 4 seasons that Urban Meyer was at Florida. Summerall said, quote, "Gotta earn it. Gotta earn the logo. We ain't earned it yet. We haven't earned a damn thing. All we've got is our name. To wear the Florida Gator logo, to wear the Gators across your helmet, to wear the Gator head, you got to earn that." End quote. He's unsure about how or when the players can earn the logos. He said, "I haven't thought about that yet." End quote. Florida hired him in late November, and here we are looking at Summerall's 6-year, $44.7 million deal to replace Billy Napier, and to see what Summerall can do in this new chapter for the Florida Gators. His coaching resume includes 4 consecutive league title game appearances. He won back-to-back Sun Belt championships in 2 seasons at Troy, 2022 and 23, and then led to Tulane to the American title in both of his seasons there, 2024 and 25. Now, the Green Wave won the league last season and earned their first ever spot, Tulane did, in the college football playoff. So say what you want to say about John Summerall, but the team he coached, Tulane, was in the CFP. Florida was not. So the Gators, hoping that he will continue the successes that he has had as he's had a streak of going to championship games inside of conferences, winning 3 of the last 4 years. Now, Summerall's first steps included keeping 5 top-tier players in Gainesville: linebacker Miles Graham, running back Jaden Baugh, defensive end Jaden Woods, and wide receivers Vernell Brown III and Dallas Wilson. So they are going to be with this team. He said, quote, "Clearly the most important thing to me was trying to retain our best players. Not going to keep them all, ever. There's a coaching change. There's going to be some change and some transition, but that part was critical for us to have any opportunity to have success next year." End quote. We do know that no longer part of this team, quarterback DJ Lagway, who is now a Baylor Bear inside of the Big 12. So PJ, he doesn't know how you get it back, but he most certainly won't let you have it right now. John Summerall, my dude from Tulane that I've gotten to know over these last couple of years, he comes into Gainesville, looks at the team and says, "Oh, y'all want to practice? Y'all want to get ready? That's fine. Here's your shirts. Here's your shorts. Here's your hats. Here's your whatever." But guess what? They open up these T-shirts, they look at the shorts, they look at the hat, they go, "Coach, there's nothing on here. I just got a pair of blue shorts." And is there a problem? Well, something happened in the wash. Did I get somebody's wrong clothes? No. The gator don't come on anything until you earn it. You want them on your hat? Earn it. You want them on your shorts? Earn it. You want to wear a sweatshirt that has the gator? Earn it. You know what? If I'm John Summerall, I would make sure that I would have pictures of my entire roster. I'd have names there, and I'd send it to the bookstore just so these guys can't go buy gator gear when they go to the bookstore. So, PJ, your thoughts here on how John Summerall, a coach that I've known all too well and you're getting to know right now, said if you want to be a Gator, you better earn what it means to be one.
Oh, I love this guy. I love this guy. And so the Gator Nation loves this guy for sure. And I can, there was a comment that a couple of players made just a couple of days ago. They said, "Time to go to work, man." And that's just what he wants to instill. If you want to wear Florida, you got to go to work. So, hey, even if you don't play, you go to work. He's going to give you the name, but I didn't see that one coming. Frankly, I didn't know that Urban Meyer did that either, but I like it. I mean, it's forceful, that's for sure. But he's going to have his problems. We don't have a lot of athletes. I mean, I think he's got 19 kids that are coming in on scholarships, and I think he's got 26 of transfer guys. So there's not a lot of people on the team. I would say there's probably less than 80. But a lot of them are probably going to wind up playing the way it is. But 2 names you mentioned there, Vernell Brown and Dallas Wilson III. Those kids played as freshmen with DJ Lagway, and they were absolutely unbelievable until they got hurt, of course. Those kids are going to turn everything on a dime out there. It's going to be fun. Sometimes I wish for the days of Steve Spurrier, but Spurrier would never come up with anything like this. All he wants to do is pitch the ball around the ball field. That's what he says. Pitch the ball around. Yeah. So I wish Coach Summerall luck. He's got my vote.
So nice to hear a change of heart, because PJ wasn't feeling the decision originally, but he's feeling it more now. Who would have known that all it would take for PJ to get behind Summerall was to have him say, "Hey, guess what? You can get the Gator logo at TJ Maxx, but you can't get it in this building." So with that being said, we got the college foot. And you know what? PJ's got a Gator because I bought him a blanket with a Gator on it. So
that's right.
Yeah, PJ earned the stripes there, so to speak.
That's right.
Let's get into the college football playoff. It's staying at 12. I had the opportunity to speak with executive director of the college football playoff, the head man, Mr. Rich Clark. And when we had the opportunity to talk, that was on January 20th. And he said on January 23rd, 3 days later, he said, we will have a decision. We have 3 choices. Stay at 12, go to 16, go to 24. They decided to stay at 12 for one more season, extending what they have through the 2026-27 season that will cap off, well, I should say that will end in Las Vegas. So let's jump in here. The CFP, when we talk about who makes this decision, the CFP Management Committee, which is comprised of the 10 FBS conference commissioners, and that includes the PAC, which is going to have more teams this year, and it includes the AD of Notre Dame because they're independent. What I asked was, UConn's independent too. Where the hell's their representation? But apparently they don't have any. So here we are. This is what was said. Or maybe they do and they just kept it under wraps. So after ongoing discussion about the 12-team playoff format, the decision was made to continue with the current structure. That was said by Executive Director Rich Clark. This will give the Management Committee, which is those 10 FBS conference commissioners plus the AD of Notre Dame, additional time to review the 12-team format so they can better assess the need for potential change. While they all agree the current format has brought more excitement to college football and has given more schools a real shot in the postseason, another year of evaluation will be helpful, end quote. Like I said, they're just buying themselves another year. Now, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has publicly supported a 16-team model, but Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti would agree to that only if Sankey committed to a 24-team field after 3 years, allegedly. That's what's alleged out there. So that's the thing that the Big Ten and the SEC can't agree. And what did I tell you years ago? The SEC could form its own league, and then the Big Ten made the moves to get the 4 West Coast teams to go with the SEC, and now it seems like running the discussions here are the SEC and Big Ten. Big surprise. So, in March 2024, the CFP and ESPN agreed to a 6-year, $7.8 billion contract that ensures the network will remain the sole media rights holder of the event, speaking of the college football playoff, through the 2031-32 season. During those contract negotiations, the 10 FBS conferences and Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua signed a memorandum of understanding that gave the Big Ten and SEC the bulk of control over the playoff's future format. Are you surprised? You shouldn't be. The contract was built for a 12 or 14-team field, but momentum for a 16-team playoff increased in recent months. As the sole rights holder, ESPN imposed a deadline of December 1st, 2025 for the CFP to determine its format, but allegedly the SEC asked for an extension, which they got until January 23rd. Clark said there will be a December 1 deadline every year to inform ESPN of any format changes. Although the number of teams in the field will remain the same for this upcoming 26-27 season at 12, there will be some adjustments, and pay attention. The Power 4 conferences, which is a media term, they're the autonomy group. It used to be 5. Then the PAC went from 12 to 2. So, it's the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12. They're the autonomy group. I'm not going to call them the Power 4 because I don't believe in power, non-power. Rich Clark, the executive director of the CFP, when he spoke with me, he called them the A4, which stands for autonomy. He didn't say power. And if the head of the CFP isn't saying power, well, let's think about that. So the autonomy 4 conferences, their champions are guaranteed a spot in the 12-team field this upcoming season, along with the highest-ranked conference champion outside of the autonomy group, which includes the new look Pac-12. Notre Dame will be a lock for the playoff if it finishes in the selection committee's top 12. So the committee literally can just rank them somewhere in the 12, and they're locked in. Had those rules existed this season, ACC champion Duke and independent Notre Dame would have made the playoff. So, next season CFP will feature first-round games played on campus sites, followed by quarterfinals and semifinals hosted by the College Football Playoff Bowls. Those bowls are the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the, oh my goodness, which one is off my mind right now?
Fiesta Bowl.
And the Fiesta Bowl, thank you, Verbo Fiesta Bowl. So, that's not going to change. But PJ, we got 12 for one more year. The SEC and the Big Ten have to agree. I guess the other 8 conferences doesn't matter what they think. But what's the point of having a management committee where it's really a decision between the SEC and the Big Ten. If I'm the ACC, I'll be like, you know what? Why don't you just let me know what you decide, since sitting in this room does nothing for me. So we don't know what the future is going to hold, but for right now we have 12. But they've adjusted the rules that the autonomy group is protected. So if you win the SEC and you got 5 losses, you're in. If you win the Big Ten Conference Championship and you didn't play a ranked team all year, you're in. If you're inside of the Big 12 and you got 4 or 5 losses and you win that conference championship, you're locked. Duke would have gotten in with 5 losses this year. It would have knocked out James Madison, maybe Tulane, and would have knocked out Miami, who we obviously saw had earned the right to be there and earned it thereafter. So my question to you, PJ, if we are now not saying we're taking the 5 highest ranked conference champions of the 10 conferences, we are taking the 4 autonomy conferences, no matter what they're ranking, and then we're taking one of the 6 other conferences they call the group of. Okay, so that means that every year they're only going to take, now they'll say that the rules at large leave it open, right? At large, you can get another team in from the group of, but that's never going to happen. The rules show that it can, so it appears to be smoke and mirrors fairness, but it's not ever going to be that. Those are going to, the at-large are going to be SEC teams, Big Ten teams, ACC, Big 12, Notre Dame. But I'd love to get your thoughts on the 2 changes. We're not taking the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. We're taking the 4 autonomy group, no matter what the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, or SEC conference champion records are. We're taking them every single year. We're only going to take one team from one conference champion from the other 6 conferences. That means 5 conferences will play for a champion that doesn't matter. And all Notre Dame has to do is be in the good graces of the committee to be ranked in the top 12. Your thoughts?
I don't know where these guys come up with this stuff, Daniel. I don't. I just worry about the student athletes. That's what I worry about. As it is, we're in January, and pretty soon, if they stretch it out, it's going to be the end of January. You're already in the second semester. You know, these guys all got tablets. They probably do their assignments online and whatever. You know, I just don't see this fulfilling a student athlete's obligation to the school to go to class, pass, and play football or basketball, whatever. I know they're trying to finagle something in there. You know, maybe I'm just old. You know, I'm old. I have different morals and values than these kids got. It's maybe some of the people who make these decisions. I couldn't stand myself if I couldn't even pass a class and then go play on a team. Just like Carson Beck said it last two weekends ago. He says, I'm going to Miami, but I don't have to take any classes because I already graduated. So he's there, he's taking a spot. He's playing in championship games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old fashioned. I just don't like to see. I don't like to see where it's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'll say this, PJ. Notre Dame, who makes their own schedule every year, and they play a bunch of ACC games. So this is ironic to me that there's been this national narrative that the ACC is not a good conference and they're down in football. Yet almost half the season Notre Dame plays against ACC schools. So does that mean that half of Notre Dame's season doesn't matter? So my question to you, if Notre Dame can make their own schedule, they're never going to be bound by their conference because they're not in one. They're never going to be bound by having to win a conference championship. All they have to do is be ranked in the top 12. Does that, I mean, I feel like this is kind of setting it up because this is the committee. This is 12 to 13 people in the room. All they have to do is rank Notre Dame within the top 12. Notre Dame doesn't have to play in a conference. They don't have to win a conference championship. They don't have to do any of that. No strength of schedule within their conference. They just have to, I mean, they could literally probably schedule a bunch of teams that they know that they can beat 9 times out of 10 and go 11-1 or 12-0. For goodness sakes, they made the CFP when they lost to Northern Illinois. So my question to you is, in this new format, why shouldn't they just write into it Notre Dame's in every year? Because that's basically what they're saying.
It's true what they're doing. But what you say has truth to it. They can schedule their own games, and probably, as we're sitting here talking, probably 8 or 9 of the teams they're going to run flat over. The other 3 they're going to be competitive with, or maybe even lose one. So frankly, they're in a very advantageous position. They're holding all the marbles. Even if they schedule a bunch of cupcakes, and the committee likes what they're doing, and they lost to Southern Cal or they lost to Florida State or something like that, it's not going to be heard of. So they're 12-2 with a weak schedule, and they're going to be negated just like they were this last year.
Well,
so Notre Dame, you're holding the ball. You know, you're holding it all. That's a good position to be in, Daniel, if you're Notre Dame.
Well, I'm going to tell you Notre Dame's schedule this year. Wisconsin, who was terrible, like middle of the road, Big Ten. Rice, Michigan State, who was terrible. Purdue, who did not win a single game in the Big Ten. North Carolina, who did not have a good first season under Bill Belichick. Stanford, who had an interim coach that was a placeholder. BYU, who really didn't have a lot of great wins. I think the Big 12 was not as good as maybe people think it is. Navy, who they beat every year. Boston College, Miami, SMU, and at Syracuse. So at first glance of this, I only see 2 losses potentially for Notre Dame. SMU and Miami. Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State, congratulations. You're playing the bottom to low half of the Big Ten. Stanford and North Carolina haven't been relevant. Navy has had 2 fantastic years, but they know how to beat the military schools. Boston College can hang with you, but typically not close out these games. Syracuse has been a non-factor. BYU sometimes is smoke and mirrors. Rice has gotten better, but I don't expect them to beat Notre Dame. So of Notre Dame's 12-game schedule, they have Miami and SMU, and guess what? Both of those games are at home. So I see Notre Dame probably 9 or 10 wins just by looking at the schedule.
Yeah. BYU, you can throw them in there too.
Yeah.
So the possibility that if they're flat, they could be 9-3. Something to talk about. BYU is no slouch, but they just don't have the physicality to match up against Notre Dame. That's why Notre Dame runs over so many people. They're bigger and faster and stronger, except when he plays the big schools. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You're going to say, "Oh, Papa Joe, you're going to do it again." You're going to talk about the SEC. Let them come into the SEC for a couple of years and see how they fare.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Well, and that's again, and I can't state this enough. I have no qualms with Notre Dame, none at all. I just ask for fairness, and this is not fair, and this is ridiculous. And PJ, I mean, think about this: all of these other schools, all of these conferences, they have to show themselves. They have to earn the right. Think about Miami and the ACC. They might have to go all the way through the ACC, win their non-conference, win their conference, get into the conference championship, win the conference championship, or nothing is set in stone for them. Right? Duke won their conference championship in the ACC and they didn't get in. Now those rules have changed that if you're in the ACC and you're so think about this. If you're in the ACC and you got a bunch of teams that don't play well this upcoming season, and you got the American, and you got a bunch of teams ranked and they're playing phenomenal, the ACC's getting their champion in no matter what, even if they couldn't beat the top 6 teams in the American, but the American's not getting their champion in no matter what they do. I mean, the fairness is the unfair world is showing itself again. College football playoff was supposed to give things more of an even playing field, make things more fair. Now what it's doing is saying the SEC and the Big Ten have the cojones here. They got everybody by the cojones, I should say. Then you have everybody else. But think about Miami. We just made it to the national championship and played an Indiana team to one possession. And of all the mistakes we made, we still had a shot with 51 seconds left to play. Then you have Notre Dame, who this season doesn't have to worry about their conference or conference schedule. They schedule all their games. Their tough games are at home. Most of them, pretty much all of them, are at home. And so Miami's going to fight for their lives in the ACC. If Miami doesn't make the ACC championship or doesn't win the ACC championship, they got to wait for the committee to put them in or not. Let's say Miami's 12-1, but they lost the conference championship. Now the committee's got to decide if they're putting them in or not. Where Notre Dame, and then they're going to sit and watch Notre Dame walk into the college football playoff with no conference championship, nothing at the end to play for, nothing that they had to fight through. How do you look at the country, the SEC? How does Alabama and Texas look at Notre Dame and say, we got to get in here, we got to win this thing, and if we don't, we play a gamut of a schedule far better than Notre Dame's schedule. And if we take 2 or 3 losses, we're out, and all they got to do is sit there and hope that somebody ranks them high. And if it's based on rankings, that means it's based on the 12 to 13 people on the College Football Playoff Committee. So do you think that maybe perhaps somebody from Notre Dame, a booster, the AD, a former player, going to try and get those cell phone numbers and make sure that they text them on Sunday nights?
Very well said. It's flummery is what it is. It's flummery. But if they're going to make sense of it, whether it's flummery or not. So, I still don't like to see the expansion of the teams any more than what they are. I was opposed to 12, but now I'm going to be much more opposed to 16 or even 24. So you're going to have if you have look, we had 2 cupcakes last time. Yeah, James Madison and Tulane. Unfortunately, they were cupcakes. Now, if you spread it to 16, you're going to have 4 more cupcakes because you're going to have 4 SEC teams, 4 Big Ten teams, and whatever else is left. Then you got some cupcakes. Yeah. So where's the competitiveness with that? All we're looking for is dollars and cents. Oh no, yeah, the kids will be fine in school. Don't worry about it. They'll take their classes. They'll do that. Yeah, sure, right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
And again, the most important part of this is the student and student athlete, because football stops at some point and they have to be ready for the real world. And we're definitely not doing anything or talking about preparing them for that. We try to do that here on the show, though, and dare to be different. But again, Notre Dame must be nice. All you got to do is have somebody rank you, and rankings are up to people's opinions. Where ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, Conference USA, the MAC, the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, and the American, they have to play football games to earn the right. All Notre Dame has to do is hope that people like them in rankings. And as long as you put a special set of rules to coddle, think about it like this, okay? Your mom makes dinner. There's 10 kids. There's 11 kids because in Notre Dame. So you got 11 kids at the table. Your mom makes dinner. She says we're having spaghetti and meatballs. So she puts spaghetti and meatballs in front of 10 of the kids. She goes to put the 11th spaghetti and meatball down, and that Notre Dame crybaby kid goes, I want peanut butter and jelly! And then she makes them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich while the rest of you got to eat spaghetti and meatballs. Tell me it's fair. It's not fair. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But as long as you give them a special set of rules and you coddle them, they're going to keep being them. And I'm surprised that other schools don't want to be like Notre Dame, don't choose to go independent, so that they can have their own special set of rules, because Notre Dame is living on an island by themselves, and it must be nice. All the college football playoff would have to do is say, either you join a conference or you can't qualify. And then Notre Dame would join a conference, and UConn would join a conference. That's all you have to say. But no, here we are in 2026 after all these years, and everybody at the table's got spaghetti and meatballs, but Notre Dame's got peanut butter and jelly.
That's right. I got to tell you a little story about my mother. Yeah. Being an Italian, you always had to sit at the table and eat, right? Yeah. So if I didn't like what my mother was cooking, I wouldn't eat. And she'd look at me and she'd say, Joey, Go make a bologna sandwich and go to your room.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. And
Go
that's
make a bologna sandwich and go to your room.
And that's where we're at right now. We are there. So PJ, as always, I appreciate the time. I thank you for being here. The NFL playoffs continue in the title game, not this weekend, but the following weekend. In between, PJ will be avidly watching every single festivity of the Pro Bowl, as he always does. PJ, I love you. I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, bye.
See ya. Papa Joe here on the show with us every Thursday to start off the broadcast. Always happy to have PJ on the broadcast, and we are jumping in to our conversation with Scottie Rodgers, who's going to be joining us in just a moment here, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you for being inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday, and they are open all the time at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Coming into the broadcast now with us here this morning is no stranger to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Always happy to have this gentleman on the show and always look forward to the conversations that we get to share. That is the one and only Scottie Rodgers, who is here with us after being down in Miami. We both got to celebrate some time. I went from 70 degrees in Miami to -12 in Syracuse. There was an 82-point swing that even Vegas couldn't cover. Scottie, how we doing this morning?
We're doing fine. We've been dealing with a little weather down here in North Texas, but we're starting to come back as the temperatures have gotten a little bit more consistently above freezing. So we've had a few days of having to kind of be careful and stay around the house.
Yeah, and I'll say this, from where you are and where you're living in North Texas, I heard that there was a little bit of an ice skating rink that Texas became for the last few days.
You know, I've seen ice skating. I've seen people sledding. I saw one guy look like he was cross-country skiing down the road. I mean, look, you know, we've had, you know, the unique thing about North Texas and this part of the Dallas-Fort Worth area and this part of Texas is that you get the snow, you get the 100 degrees. So you have to kind of take the good with the bad. Some people like the colder weather. Me personally, not the biggest fan of it, but, you know, you just try to, you know, luckily we've been able to, you know, go through this particular set of weather circumstances. You know, obviously there's been some challenges, but it could have been worse. I will say that.
Yeah, and I will say this last year, and I think I told you this, but right outside of the hotel that the media gets to stay at for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, I'm there in Las Colinas, and I went outside and I called my parents and I go, so how insane is this? And I took a picture next to it. I said, the first snowman that I've seen this winter is in Texas, not in Syracuse. So I had a nice snowman moment last year.
Well, I may know who the culprits were of that, making that snowman. I'm not going to say anything live on air, but I think some young children that we know were a part of that, and maybe their father, and they had some fun with it, which I think was cool. You know, because look, we all have to deal with, you know, when you talk about major events, and you and I have talked about this, you know, the biggest thing about planning major events is that you have to have a great plan, because you're always going to have to deal with the variables, the things that you didn't plan for. You know, our 2 games ago now, the game that you're talking about, our 89th, we had to deal with weather, and we had to deal with the fact that there was precipitation on the ground, there was snow, there was ice, and those types of things. And, you know, that's just part of it. And even in Miami for the national championship, in a different way, they had to deal with the fact of, you know, not that it was bad weather, but it was the number of people, you know, in certain areas of that area, and trying to navigate the traffic and all those things. Those are just part of managing large scale events. You kind of have to deal with it. And it's you try to have the best plan that you possibly have, but you also know that you got to be able to be flexible, and you got to pivot as things come up.
Yeah, you know, and I was part of that traffic. I went to South Beach on that Sunday, and I was trying to get back to do the media party on the mega yacht. And so, you know, we came around the corner, we're downtown, and we were in traffic, and I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I should just get out and walk the rest of the way out of the Uber just to get there. But and then I go upstairs, I get changed, I come downstairs, the road is cleared. So like they figured it out, they did it, but we could walk to the mega yacht, which was a good thing too. But Scottie and I are here to talk about a lot of different things. VP of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. And I'm not saying this because he's on air next to me. There's not a lot of people I've met in 22 years of broadcasting that do things like this gentleman does, and the consistency. I think that's one word that people don't say a lot. Consistency. Like, you can be awesome for a day. Most people can do that. Most people can be awesome for an hour, for half a day, for a week. But Scottie has been a true professional, and he's handled himself in consistency. And one of those people you don't worry about. You think, if it's going through Scottie, I know it's going to be done right. I know he cares. I know he's going to put a good team together. So before we go anywhere, I do want to say that to you, that I deal with a lot of people in the communications world, and they're not all like you. And you're the one person where I come down to Texas, I know I'm going to be treated well. I know we're going to have good festivities, good hotel. We're going to have access. We're going to have information. And I know that if we need you or we need professionalism, we know where to go. So thank you, because I don't worry about the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and that has to do with you and your team.
Well, two parts to that for me. First and foremost, I great parents that taught me that early on, growing up, being consistent and showing up all the time. They gave us and my siblings a strong foundation to do that. And honestly, that's how I was brought up in the business. I've had the fortunate pleasure to be around many legends that have been in this business and continue to be in this business. And I learned from them. I took a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, and they all did it differently. They all had some similar characteristics, but they all had their own spin on it. And I've been able to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and throw a little bit of me in there too, and try to do that. And what I've tried to do also is just try to evolve with the profession. You know, as you get older in this profession, evolving becomes more of a challenge because you get caught stuck in your ways a little bit. And stuck in your ways is not a bad thing, because that's can be called consistency. But also at the same time, you got to look at the ways in which you need to evolve to help meet the needs of today's media. Today's media doesn't look like the media that I first dealt with when I was coming into profession. It just doesn't look the same. They don't act the same. They don't come from the same background. They're not producing content in the way that, you know, those many years ago. It's just different. And how can we continue to give good media folks like yourself, and you're a part of this new media, of the media that are doing things more in a digital way that has been done, and reestablishing what is credible and legitimate media that's coming at it in more, not unconventional, but, different ways. And I think that's really important. And we try to, within our staff and the people that help us do the great things that we do, we try to keep that in mind so that we are servicing the media that are covering our game today and in the future.
Well, and that's the thing. You always hope for a door. You hope for an opportunity. And I was talking about things yesterday. I ended my night. I was having a conversation, and I said, let's both end this phone call by saying something we're grateful for. And I started just going down the line. And one of the things I said was, I'm grateful for people that helped to open the door. I'm grateful for people that allowed me the opportunity to show them who I am, instead of trying to decide who I was based on somebody else they met that they think is similar, because I'm not like anybody else. And I actually said last night before I go to bed, I said, I'm thankful that tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'll be talking to someone that opened the door and said, all right, Dan Tortora, show me what you got. And I'm grateful for people like you, Scottie, because we all hope for those moments, especially when you take a path that's unconventional like mine, building your own company, taking what I learned from ESPN, Fox, and Yahoo affiliates, and then trying to build something on my own, to say, I'm going to reach out, and you just hope that someone goes, yeah, come in, show me what you got. And now it's all these years later, but you know this and I know this. Somebody opened a door for you when you were coming into the business, or you didn't have that experience, or you were trying to get in. And like I told my first boss out of college, he said, why should I hire you? You don't have any experience professionally. And I looked at him and I said, I'm sick and tired of hearing that. I said, how the heck are we supposed to get professional experience out of college? How are we going to have, none of us have that. But you want us to have it to get the job. One of you has to open the door in order for us to have the professional experience that you're asking us for, or else we're just in this loop of, we're out of college, we need professional experience, you don't want to hire us unless we have it. I said, so you can be the 100th person that tells me I needed 2 years of professional experience, or you can hire me, give me 6 months, and if I'm not that great, I'll let you kick my butt right out this door. But if I am good at my job, then you can say that you're the one that said yes when everybody else said no, and you can look smart. He looked at me that day and he said, do not say another word. Go talk to my superior. Tell him what you just said. And I got that job. So thank you, Scottie, for opening that door that day.
Well, like you said, I look at it because people open doors for me. I didn't just show up and everything was handed to me. I got doors open to me. I got people who gave me guidance, sometimes when I didn't want it, sometimes when I absolutely needed it. And I use that as motivation to open the door for others, whether it's young people in my side of the profession, whether it's young people in your side of the profession that obviously we work with most closely, our media that are out there. And hopefully, some people are going to do something with it. Some people are going to fumble it. Some people are going to flat out mess it up. And some people are going to absolutely thrive. And you got to deal with the ups and downs and the challenges that may come with those that don't quite work out. But 9 times out of 10 or more times than not, the people that you do open the door for and you give some opportunity to, they take advantage of it and they do something positive with it and continue to grow from that point going forward.
Yeah. And it's, that's the thing, right? Who are we in this world if we don't help other people and give opportunities? And the golden rule, God, what did Jesus literally say? Like, if you forget everything I taught you, treat people as how you want to be treated. Love one another as I have loved you. So Scottie Rodgers here with us, VP of Communications, Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Let's reflect on this 2025-26 season. You're in the path every single year to the college football playoff national championship. You have an opportunity to help lead the charge of what's going to be at the end of it all, either by being a quarterfinal or semifinal game. This year in the quarterfinal round, you had this little old team that didn't deserve to be there, right? Miami, the team that I defended for weeks, and they obviously showed out and did what they needed to do. They come and they play Ohio State, who at this point I think has an apartment adjacent to the AT&T Stadium because they've been down at the Cotton Bowl so much. So we have Ohio State there and Miami. Miami wins this game 24-14. They defeat the reigning national champion and the 2 seed in the CFP this season, Miami being the 10 seed, winning on the road in the first round over Texas A&M, the 7 seed. So you get Miami, you get this game. Miami shows people, hey, guess what? We're here and we ain't going anywhere. And then they run all the way to the championship game and play Indiana to 1 possession in a game that went down to the final 51 seconds. So as you reflect on this and that game, what it meant to you to have the reigning national champion, as well as to have the other team, Miami, that ended up showing you and the entire world and me and everybody that they absolutely should be in the Cotton Bowl and they absolutely should have been in this thing from the jump, and they made it from the Cotton Bowl all the way to the championship.
You've really, really hit the high points of the story that is Miami as a part of this past season's college football playoff. And, look, for us, it's the second year in a row that our champion has gone on and played for the national championship. That really shows that the road that comes through us puts you on a path that could potentially lead you to either play for or win a national championship. Obviously, we did that from a quarterfinal perspective this year, as you mentioned, previous year with Ohio State coming through in the semifinal. Look, it was a unique situation for us. To have a team in our bowl game for the 3rd year in a row, 3rd season in a row, it creates a lot of uniqueness. We obviously know a lot of those people there, and that made for a unique opportunity to continue to build upon relationships that we had there with the great folks at Ohio State. Their fans showed up once again. I think what has happened, people thought, well, maybe they won't show up. This is Ohio State. They got a lot of fans, and they're going to show up. And that's exactly what they did. And I think the surprise in it all is that you didn't know what Miami was going to do because Miami hadn't been in this position before under the umbrella of the college football playoff, and they showed up as well. Miami, generally speaking, is just a smaller school than, when it comes to number of alumni, etc. But Miami has this uniqueness that a lot of schools have, is that a lot of people are Miami fans and maybe never even went to school there. May have no connection outside of they just like Miami and they like the Hurricanes. And I think they were able to build upon that excitement and upon that interest people have in their program. The U being back, so to speak, it was big for them. And they came in and they won. You're talking about winning two neutral site games, some tough environments, and winning a road game in a really tough environment. Yeah. It really shows the mettle of that team. It shows what they were able to do. And then they had the really, really unique opportunity of playing a national championship in their home stadium, which, that's the first time that's happened. Yes, Georgia's been in Atlanta. There's been a couple other situations where it's been close, but to actually play in their home stadium. Look, and they showed up and showed out, but the story was Indiana. Indiana had that storybook year. They showed from literally start to finish in their year that they were a team that everybody thought they were. And when it came down to it, they made the plays. They did what they needed to do to continue to get those W's. And in the biggest stage that they ever been on as a football program, they showed up, made the plays, and completed I wouldn't even call it a Cinderella run, completed a run that will go down as one of the most storied in college football history, in modern college football history. Yeah. And that's what you want from a college football season. You want the game that decides it all, that has two teams that have earned their way to that, play at the highest level. And as you said, the game came down to the waning seconds before it was truly decided. That just shows what Miami was as a team. That obviously showed what Indiana was as a team. And that shows how difficult the gauntlet is when you have a championship that you have to go through and you have, a first round, a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and a national championship. You have 4 rounds to get through to decide who is the national champion, which team is the national champion. And when it was all said and done, the dust settled, it's the Indiana Hoosiers. And we're proud of Miami for being in our game and being our champion. We celebrate them and we'll continue to celebrate them as we continue to go in the off season. And here before long, next thing you know, we'll start turning our attention to the 91st that's coming up, as a part of the upcoming playoff in the 2026 college football season.
Yeah, and I mean, so much excitement. Announced attendance at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, 71,323 people. The fans show up, and I have to say this because you know that I am a Marvel fan and a superhero fan. So in Deadpool and Wolverine, there's something that Deadpool says to Wolverine before the end of the movie, and I'm going to say it to you, Scotty, now that we've celebrated 90 years. He looks at Wolverine and he says, you're going to do this until you're 90. And you're going to do it here at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic well past 90. So shout out to you for doing it for 9 decades, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. And we've had Scottie Rodgers connected to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic for about a third of that time. So I want to reflect once again, now that the game's been played, on what it's like to get to your 90th and be one of the most storied, most successful, and most historic bowls that we have here in college football.
Our game, like many games, have such a unique story. The people, the personalities, the plays, the moments, the influences that have come from all different walks of life that's been a part of our game. It's such a unique, and it's hard to encapsulate 90 games 89 coming into this one, and now 90 in such a short way. You know, the number one thing that I have I mean, there's so many things that you can think about when you think about a game that exists at 90, but I guess the core of it all is the people. The people that have made the game great. Those are the ones that have played on the field, those that have coached, those that have been on the administrative side, those that have supported the game in the community, whether that's through civic, whether that's through political, whether that's through community. There's been so many people and so many organizations, companies, vendors, sponsors, partners that have been a part of that we couldn't begin to start naming all those people. We can't begin to start recognizing every single one of them because, frankly, Dan, we'd be here for a week to try to figure out all those names and all those people. You know, there's just so many legendary names that have played in our game. You know, you think about and those that have created, you know, legends in recent history. You know, whether it's Jack Sawyer with the sack scoop and score, whether it's Keontae Scott with his pick six, you know, those plays will now live in the infamy of, you know, in the annals of our game. And those moments will be played over and over and over again when you start talking about the great moments in our game. And there's been so many. There's been great moments in wins. There's been great moments in losses. There have been unbelievable finishes. There have been just so many things, and it's a really unique story. You know, you said I've been around for a third of it. I can't believe that, you know, this was my 27th Cotton Bowl Classic to work and my 6th on staff. And, you know, when you start looking at that being almost close to a third, you know, it's kind of an amazing thing. You know, I'm proud to be able to say that. I'm proud to be able to be associated with something for so long. And I feel like I got many more years that I want to be associated to the game and our game and the game of college football, because it's just such a great sport and there's so much goodness in it. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the negativity that's surrounding the game and all the changes that are happening. But beyond that stuff, there's still a lot of goodness that happens in on and off the field when it comes to the world of college football. And at the times that we can, I want to make sure we continue to highlight and promote that, because that's what makes the game so great.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I wear this logo proudly is because I respect what was created and the people that were a part of creating this college football playoff, a fair way to determine a national champion. We're here with Scottie Rodgers, VP of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Before we get into what's to come, a few points on what has happened. And you brought up Jack Sawyer, and I was there for that game in the semifinal against Texas, the scoop and score and take it back to the house. He went from the right side of the field to the left, and I've been in the same spot the last 2 seasons. I've been by that right end zone up in the press box. So I've seen Jack go away from me. Keontae Scott, the interception, he went away from me when he scored it in the quarterfinal this year. So my question to you, Scottie, is do we only have these massive defensive touchdowns going from the right side of the field to the left?
You know, it seems to be a trend. And luckily, I don't call the plays or make the plays happen. So, you know, I'll try to dial up to get one coming your way. You know, I don't know how I can make that happen. But, you know, next year, once we know our teams, I'll talk to the coaching staffs and see if they can get it set up so that the play comes towards you and not away from you, so that you can get a little bit better view. You know, look, you talk about 2 historic defensive plays that literally changed the game and turned out to be in each game turned out to be plays that probably helped decide the game in some ways, you know, especially the Sawyer play, because that was later in the game. The Scott play happened earlier in the game, but still, as the game played out, it turned out to be one of the bigger plays in the game and may have been the deciding one ultimately. It's you know, when you're at AT&T Stadium, as you know, our press box is uniquely situated in the northwest side of the stadium. So it's you do have a somewhat of a unique vantage point, but by the same token, you just look up and there's this huge, large screen that helps you to be able to see things that are going away from you, that you might not be able to see if you're looking down on the field directly. You can just glance up and get a pretty good view of what's happening.
Well, my thing is, I love my view. I love where you've put me these last couple of years. So I have no complaints on it. But if I ever need a replay, I just look up at a screen that looks like it lives inside of my eyelids. So it's pretty insane. But I will say this, as you made mention of it, 28-14, Ohio State beats Texas in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic a couple seasons ago, goes on to play in the national championship, and there's a Jack Sawyer play. Then you see this year, Keontae Scott, 24-14, Miami beats Ohio State. They go on to play in the national championship through the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. So you can argue, based in including what you just said, that those massive plays that will live in infamy in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic history are also the plays that help to put the gavel down. And in true irony, and in the world we live in collegiate athletics, and you know this and I know this, Ohio State was on the right side of it 2 years ago, the wrong side of it this year. So it's just funny how that all kind of plays out. And they had that massive, oh my goodness, the game is over play. And then you go to Keontae Scott, and Keontae let people know too that when he was running, and you could go back and watch the replay, he turned to the Ohio State bench and he let them know what he was about to do. So there's definitely some awesome moments that happen at AT&T Stadium for this Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Scotty, I want to get to going to Miami, because what you got to do, what I got to do, we got to culminate this, have the climax of everything in Miami, Florida. And so you have a concert happening on South Beach. You have the doorstep of the CFP National Championship in 2026 being the ocean and cruise ships going by and sand. We're on a yacht, we're on a mega yacht the night before the game, and then we have a game that is one possession with less than a minute to go. How did you experience, now that you've had a week to think about it, just what you can say and what you learned? Because I know business-wise you're thinking, okay, what can I do? How can I implement? What did I like? What would I maybe change? So I know there's a business side of your experience, but there's also the side of it where you're enjoying good food, good atmosphere, and a unique setting. So how did you experience Miami?
Miami was great. I love being a chance to be a part of the media operations team to help, pull off the biggest college football game of the year. It's a nice way to culminate all the work that we've done with our bowl game, and then take some of that experience to the national championship and help round out and shape the media operations in particular, and all the operations, but the media operations in particular, because that's the area I'm in to help out with that. A lot of people commented, I'm sure you saw it too, one of the responsibilities I've had in the last 3 years with the game is escorting the offensive MVP after the game, which, because of that, there are opportunities that I'm standing and the camera is there and they're focused on, that person, which this year was Fernando Mendoza, and people are like, well, you're just getting a lot of TV time. And I say that, I don't do any job to get TV time. I've had to work through that. Earlier in my career, it was probably a lot more exciting than it is now. Look, I know it happens. It's just a part of it. You do your job. My job is to be as close to that person as humanly possible, to get him from the obligations that he has. Post game is a hectic time. There's a lot of people. They are large humans around me, and I'm not the biggest person, so I have to fight for my spacing to make sure that I'm there, so that we keep him or that player on task, because they're getting pulled in a number of different directions, whether it's the media interviews, whether it's family that's on field, there's teammates, coaches, other media. It's a lot going on down there, and honestly, when I go through that, I have a singular focus, is to protect the person, make sure that they do the things that they need to do in the order in which is outlined. Make sure they make the stops that they need to make in the schedule that is outlined by the CFP, and make sure that we can do everything possible to accommodate as many media as possible, because that's what we're trying to do. It's a very unique experience. After that national championship, once you win it, like, they don't get to go back necessarily to the locker room and have that big speech time. Yes, they get an opportunity for just a few couple minutes, but they're getting pulled all over the place, and it's a unique time, and it's it's challenging, but I find it to be a lot of fun to be a part of that and helping in just those few minutes that I'm able to do that. You don't really get to know the student athlete that well. You do a little bit. You get to see him in that moment and talking and speaking and maybe interacting with family or friends or teammates, and you get to see a little bit of the other side of the other person, and I really enjoy that, and I just really try to keep the focus on them, because the focus that's the number one focus of that time, and that is a unique experience, maybe a once in a lifetime experience, and whatever I can do to help make sure that it's a experience that they can remember. If I need to take somebody's cell phone to take a picture, if I need to, let them run around to go say hello to somebody, that might delay them just a few seconds more before they go to another obligation. You balance those things out, because I think it's really important to, yes, things need to be done, but by the same token, the person needs to be allowed to enjoy that moment, because in that moment will never happen again. The hope is they get back to that game and they get back to that opportunity, but that moment right then at that time is a unique moment, and I just want to do everything that I can to help them be in the moment, enjoy the moment, and hopefully people get to hear what they're thinking, whether it's the celebration of it all, a play that they made, a play that their teammate made, a coaching decision that was made that was in a positive way that affected the outcome for that team to win.
Yeah, well, and for you to talk about that experience, being with Fernando Mendoza and trying to make sure that, he's doing everything he needs to do, but there's that human side, right? He wants to hug his mom. He wants to go see his dad. He wants to, spend some time with his brother. He may want to pray. He may, his faith is important to him. He may see somebody he went to high school with or grammar school with and just want to run over to them really quick. So, see, the thing is, you have a human side to you. Not everybody in communications does. And so you are, maybe going to treat him differently, where somebody else would go, you got to go here, you got to go here, nope, sorry. And you're like pushing grandma's face out of the way, where like you're saying, no, go see your grandmother, like go be with your family. So I know you said it's not a ton of time, but it's also a very important job, and you get to see the other angle of it. So when he's talking to reporters and he's doing these things and people all around the world are watching on giant screens and hearing through the speaker what he has to say, you're standing there hearing it live. So what was a day in the life or an hour in the life of being around Fernando Mendoza?
I'm very impressed by him as a human, as a person, obviously as a student athlete, and as a quarterback leading the number one team in the country to an undefeated season and a national championship. You mentioned his faith was important. At one point his family was there, and he, right there in the area where the celebration was happening, he wanted to kneel with his family and say some words. And that's important to allow that to happen. I get it. Media is trying to get him on camera. Obviously there's obligations that's related to the CFP, and there's a bunch of different media. He's from Miami, which makes that even more unique in this particular situation. So you're right. You have to have the balance of the things that they want to do versus the things that they need to do versus the things that they're required to do. And you just have to play that ear, in the moment. Fortunately, there was enough people around to be able to do that. We were able to get him back to the locker room. after some of those obligations, and he was able to spend some time with his teammates and take a shower before he went to his primary media obligation in the interview room. And that was probably some really, once we get him there, what I try to do is step out of the way. I don't need to be in the locker room right next to him. We stand in the hallway and let them have that time amongst their, looking at the clock, obviously, to make sure that, and hearing about the flow of other things that are happening post game, but give them, just a few minutes to be able to be a person. And one of the things I remember, getting them to the locker room, where his locker room was right next to his brothers, and seeing his brother, and seeing that embrace and those moments, once I got to that point, it was like I knew it was my time to step into the hallway with my other folks that are working the game and give them that time and talk to them about what's the next steps, what's going on in the other aspects, what are the questions that are being asked as far as obligations and things like that, and give them that time. And then, they don't have a ton of time because a lot is trying to happen in a short period of time. But then you go in there and say, hey, it's time to move to the next thing. And, gracious, I thought, understanding. I think sometimes people, even in victory, sometimes people, might get agitated because it's a lot coming at him. But he was very gracious and graceful, very appreciative. And that's all you can ask for, because honestly, my whole thing in that situation, or anybody that's in my role, is trying to put that student athlete in the best positive light possible, because they have accomplished something great. That's it. There's nothing more, at play than that, and making sure they have a great time. And, when you get done, you say, hey, you shake their hand and say, congratulations and best of luck to you. And that's always just a fun, quick exchange there at the end, because you've been around them for an hour-ish based upon all the things that's going on. And, you just want them to get back to the locker room and they can continue to celebrate and continue to, have that time with their circle. And then, we can look around and say, hey, job well done by us as an obligation. As a media operation, and we've met the obligations that need to be met for all the entities that are primary and should be taken care of. And then we can go on into closing out the rest of the game and making sure things are put together and put away and organized the way that it should be, so that we can ultimately leave the stadium and go back and try to commiserate with our friends and our colleagues and our folks in the media and on the media operations team for just a few minutes before many of us within hours have to either stay up or wake up and go back to our respective homes.
Yeah. And I saw Scottie after that. It was like, you get up, you get a meal. I mean, 2:00 in the morning. Sometimes I feel like I'm like, I'm used to being up late, but I'm like, is anybody else doing this? And then the national championship ends and all of us are eating in Club CFP at 2 a.m. and we're talking and walking around and watching television like it's 4:00 in the afternoon. Like, that's just a normal media thing to do. And thank you to the hospitality and the JW Marriott Marquis and everybody that worked on staff, you included, with media operations. It was incredible. Scottie, before I let you go, I do want to ask you this. The CFP started in 2015, and that first one ever was at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys and home of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. When are we having the CFP championship come back to you? Do you think it's time?
I think it will be time in some future cycle that's coming up. Some things are already projected out. We will definitely be a part of it. Look, the one thing I can tell you about us at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic is that we have shown that we are willing to boost our game and do what we need to be as a active and productive member of the college football playoff whenever we're asked. You want us to host the national championship? We'll be ready. You want us to host a quarterfinal in prime time? That's great. You want us to host a semifinal later in January, that's great. You want us to host a game early in the day? We're ready. You ready? You want us to host a game later in the day? We're ready. You want us to host another bowl game, the Rose Bowl? We're ready. So I think whenever the time is appropriate within the calendar that's coming up in the next several years, that makes sense for the overall, I feel we would be ready for that opportunity and excited for that opportunity because we have, as I mentioned, all the great people that help us. We have, I know I'm biased, the greatest stadium and the greatest partners that we can have in AT&T Stadium and the Dallas Cowboys to help us put on an event of this magnitude, and all of the people in Arlington, in Dallas, in Fort Worth, in all of the cities that make up North Texas, available to help us pull off this great event. So I know, it was a great experience back then for the first one, and the next one would be, even greater because, things have evolved and changed and will be in even a much better place than it was then, which will create some new opportunities and some expanded opportunities to hopefully make the game even better than it was before. Miami has done a great job. Now Las Vegas is on the clock for the championship next year. And then we'll see how that progresses going forward with the opportunities that will come in after that. I'm excited about the opportunities that will be at play here once we figure out what that future cycle might look like.
Yeah, and when we look at the future, 2026, 27, I had the opportunity to speak with Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, who said to me on January 20th, after the handoff ceremony of Miami to Las Vegas, when we were still in Miami, that he said, hey, we'll have a decision in 3 days, January 23rd. We'll know, are we 12, are we 16, are we 24? And they ultimately decided to remain at 12 for this upcoming season. And it sounds like they did that as a way to give themselves more time to deliberate and figure out what they want to do. The Bulls are in the quarterfinal and semifinal, as they have been, like the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. But there have been some changes that people have to pay close attention to. It's no longer the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. It is the 4 autonomy champions, no matter what their record is. The SEC conference champion, the ACC conference champion, the Big 12 conference champion, the Big 10 conference champion are in every year. Then they're going to take one from the other 6 conferences, which include an expanded Pac-12, or whatever the Pac wants to call themselves now. Plus, all Notre Dame has to do is be ranked in the top 12 in the final rankings, and they're in. What are your thoughts on the fact that the model is still at 12, but they've adjusted it to take care of the autonomy group, and for all intents and purposes, they're taking care of Notre Dame as well? Your thoughts on the changes that they have to this 12 team as we step forward?
Look, every year, since this will be the 3rd year coming up and this will be the 2nd time the pieces of the format has been tweaked. And I look that it's being tweaked to try to find that right place so that everything that should be taken care of, everything that should be under consideration is under consideration in the right way. There's a lot of smart people in that room that make those decisions. Our job is, once they make those decisions, is to be ready and execute the game as is outlined, prescribed by the board of managers. I think that's really the end goal for us on our side of it, and we just really want to make sure that the ultimate goal, I think, remains the same: trying to make this the best possible championship, the most fair, the most open. Because obviously, look what happened this year with 2 teams from the group of 6 being able to make it in. Will that happen again? I don't know. But those teams earned that right based upon the criteria that was outlined. And there's going to be a path for teams like that to earn that opportunity again in the future.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to continue to make tweaks that make sense to continue to keep the championship where it needs to be. And we're just continuing glad to be a part of it, and we adjust as they adjust, and we try to make sure that, as I said before, we're ready for the teams that come to our game in whatever format, quarterfinal, semifinal. Now that we have both under our belt, we obviously had been a semifinal before, but we've now been a semifinal on the 12 team. We've now been a quarterfinal under the 12 team. So now we have some good knowledge and background to know how to manage going forward, because it's a lot different
Yeah.
now, being a quarterfinal and semifinal. There's some similarities, but there's some huge differences too. And we can use that experience to help us to be a better quarterfinal going forward and a better semifinal going forward, based upon when those opportunities will be outlined for us, which I feel like we'll know here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think it's great that we've only had 2 years of the 12 team, and you've gotten to experience that quarterfinal, semifinal, and to really get to know those pieces. So you have that knowledge, that wisdom, and experience, which cannot be taught. Scottie, you've been great today, as always, answering my questions. We're going to round out today's special DT on the CFP with Scottie getting to put me on the hot seat for 3 questions. You can ask me anything you want, Scottie, but you get the questions now, so enjoy it. What do you got for me?
I got to ask the first question. While you were in Arlington, did you make it over to Hurtado Barbecue?
So here's the fun part about that. I didn't, because I came down right before I left. I went to go visit a friend, and his family was sick. Nobody told me before I came in. So I actually came down under the weather. I didn't tell you this. I was like, I had shivers when I was in like the first half of the game. I was uncomfortable. I was like, in my suit trying to relax. I came down a day early. I slept the whole day, took medicine, and turned out I didn't have any of the flu stuff, no COVID, nothing like that. Had a cold or whatever it was. But I didn't get to Hurtado because my stomach was awful. So I will say this about Scottie and his team. Whoever put the crackers with peanut butter and the Welch's fruit snacks, God bless you, because I lived on those for 2 days. so I didn't get over there, but I lived vicariously through my guy, Jared Mosley, the athletic director at the University of North Texas, and I have every intent of getting back there. But Scottie, I think I'm not surprised you asked me, but I can tell you that I came home, said I had an amazing experience down in Texas as always, but because I felt under the weather, I was like, you know what? I didn't get to do that one thing I wanted to do, which is go to Hurtado. So I guess I owe North Texas a visit within the next few months, just so I can like even the score there.
Yep. No, look, I'm glad that you're able to fight through the cold. And look, there's nothing worse than being sick, especially when you're covering a sporting event or working a sporting event. So I'm glad that you're able to fight through, and our snacks, played a role in helping with that. So my question to you, your national championship experience, what was your takeaway from your national championship experience?
I saw Miami differently. When I was down there for the Capital One Orange Bowl, I was in a different part. We weren't in the city, and it was quick. I literally left. So in order to leave New York and cover the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic and the Capital One Orange Bowl, I figured it all out and I posted it. I had less than 12 hours between games, 4,287 plus miles, and I did it all in less than 72 hours. My buddy he texted me, and he said, and we're like brothers, Jason, he said, bro, I just saw all your content at the Cotton Bowl, and then I wake up and you're at the Orange Bowl, and he's like, how? Like, how? And he's like, there must have been one flight, and there was one flight from Dallas, Fort Worth, to Miami that allowed me to get there in time. So yeah, I mean, that was a quick trip. This other one, I was there for the festivities, as you know, and I got down there on Friday. So I was there for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And yeah, I mean, I thought the JW Marriott Marquis Hotel and everything they did there, that might be my favorite hotel I've ever stayed at. And then, beyond that, I mean, broadcasting from the beach was insane. And I call it DT on the CFP. So I wrote it in the sand, and I have a video of the water coming up to it and seeing that. So that was cool. I thought that, Eric Palms, he was phenomenal. Mike Leota, they did a great job. And, it was really cool too to see the retired mayor of the city of Fort Lauderdale connect with me on social media and get to hear from Jack Seiler. So, I think my experience in Miami was great. I never thought I would be on a yacht in my life because I don't think like that. I go and I get it out the mud. I mean, that's how I've always been. So when you tell me to clean up and go on a yacht when I'm used to digging it out the mud and trying to look for, diamonds in the rough, so to speak, that was really, really nice. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy I got to go to South Beach. I'm happy I got to experience some really good food. And I think every city and every location has its special things to it. Las Colinas has a place in my heart. And I love what that is. And I love that that's the hotel. I remember going into the CFP, I was like, Scottie, please don't change the hotel. Don't change the location and don't change the hotel because it's got everything there. Movie theater, food, you can walk around. It's really, really nice. So yeah, I mean, I think Miami definitely left a massively positive impression with me. I think it's going to be really hard for Vegas to top it, but I'm excited to see what Vegas is going to bring. And I look forward to going back to Miami soon. But yeah, the experience was really, really special and I had fun. And I think you can agree with me that they treated us well and the food was really good.
Yeah, yeah. My last question for you is if you were the commissioner of college football for a day, and in that role, you get to do one thing to change/improve college football. You only get one thing. What would it be?
I've thought about sitting in that seat. I get the NCAA some new lawyers, but no, I mean, I think besides that, I'm right, Scottie. So, I said they need a Johnny Cochran type lawyer, man. That man knew what he was doing. He got in there. He helped everybody out. So, but no, I mean, if it was up to me to do one thing for a day as the commissioner of college football, man, so many things I'd want to do. I would implement that there would be, I would implement that that NIL and the transfer portal are mutually exclusive, which is what they were meant to be. And that you cannot use any contracts, any money, anything, any materials until someone has gotten in the transfer portal on their own without you calling. You can't call them. You cannot contact them in any way, shape, or form. No text, social media. They go in the portal on their own. They visit you on their own. They choose you on their own. They sign on the dotted line. Then you can open up the contract. Every tampering case, every single one, would be handled individually. So if you're a school that has 15 tampering cases, I'm punishing you 15 times. There is a first offense of $100,000 per case. There's a second offense of $500,000. And there's a third offense where I will take scholarships away from you on top of the money that I took. In order for us to get this thing under control, we have to make sure that NIL and the transfer portal are not working in cohesion as a package deal. They have to be mutually exclusive, or else we're never going to get a handle on this thing and contracts aren't going to mean anything.
That's an excellent point. And, I don't talk much about that because that's just really not the space that I sit in college athletics a lot. But having been around, sitting from this Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic perspective, but it is the effects of college football right now. It's going through a sea of change. And I do think that something in and around the vein that you're talking about will need to be ultimately finalized in some sort of way to bring this back into a way that is more governable. I can't even say that. Governable, meaning to be governed in the right way so that things can be done a little bit more on the up and up of with all the things that's going on. I think some of this we're not going to turn the clock back on, but I think some of it is it just needs to be tweaked in a way that will allow for the sport to flourish in a more positive way for everybody involved, and at the core of that, still thinking about the players as what they should be thought of as, which are student athletes.
Yeah, and you know what? Contracts are supposed to mean something. So your word's supposed to mean something, and to back up your word is a dotted line signature. We have to abide by those things, or else we live in chaos. And if we live in chaos and you have anarchy in collegiate athletics, which is what it's heading toward, that's not going to be good for anybody. So Scottie is all. I will say this: I got Scottie to laugh a couple times today, and for the first time ever, I got Scottie to put his hands up. So Scottie, thank you for your time, VP of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and someone that I appreciate on and off the air. I very much thank you for everything that you've been to me, and for your kindness, your generosity, and your time. So thank you.
Dan, thanks for having me on.
I'll look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely.
Take care. That coming from Scottie Rodgers. One more time, we're going to take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Under promise, over deliver. We are over 2 hours, and we have taken one commercial break, which we call fast breaks here on the show. We're going to take our second one to round out the show right now. Stay with us. And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place, and I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, and you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location, and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different, and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily? Avicoli's Restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's the number 9, KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Head out there to see them Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 to 5. Singles, packs, boxes, graded cards, so many awesome things, including all the supplies you need to protect your cards, travel with them, and showcase them. The card community is waiting for you at GG Cards and Breaks. No matter what your age, whether you've collected before or you're doing it for the first time, you get to be a big kid and join a card community that brings you closer to the teams you love, the players you love, as well as the games you love to play and the characters that you appreciate. There's nothing like GG Cards and Breaks, and that's why I'm happy they're here in our community of Central and Upstate New York. Go and visit them today on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Big time thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. You can go and visit them today. And, of course, they are open Monday through Saturday, closed on Sundays in honor of celebrating the Lord. And we appreciate everyone that goes over there Monday through Saturday to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. They have amazing, amazing things that you love so very much. And, of course, those favorites, whether you're a fan of the grilled, the spicy, or the original chicken, as well as that mac and cheese, the side of fruit, all the awesome things that they bring you at Chick-fil-A on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard, included for a limited time only the opportunity to go and get yourself some limited mug, or the limited cups. I just got myself one. There's 4 different cups celebrating old Chick-fil-A logos in the history of Chick-fil-A. They sold out the first time around, and now get over there and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to get one from Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. So go and see them for their limited time only things like those commemorative cups, as well as their all-time favorites like the original, the spicy, the grilled, and of course, their amazing breakfast over on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I appreciate you being with us. College football playoff talk throughout the show, football talk throughout the show, speaking on Bill Belichick, Darian Mensah, the Florida Gators not having logos on their clothes, courtesy of new head coach John Summerall, and reflecting on the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic and the college football playoff as we reflect on Miami, everything that culminated there, and moving forward in the CFP. A lot of great things from Papa Joe as well as Scottie Rodgers, and I appreciate y'all for being here and being a part of that. So with that being said, I want to thank you for being up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. However you're connected with the show, we thank you for being with us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, once the shows go live, they hop into the archive, and you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a big time thanks to our wonderful team in Central and Upstate New York. Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel, DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Myers Creek with 2 locations, one on the countryside on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, and the other in the city of Syracuse by going to 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York, there in the Syracuse Inner Harbor. Big time thanks to Brian's Landing, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Mother's Cupboard, Game Point Sports Complex, and where we will be tonight, Avicoli's. We'll see you at Avicoli's tonight, January 29th at 6 p.m. as we celebrate the Liverpool bowling team, the Liverpool bowling squad. Greg Roth, their head coach, and student athletes will be there with me on site on location on the pizza side, the casual dining side of Avicoli's, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, down the road from Liverpool High School. We will see you there tonight, January 29th at 6 p.m. You can also watch and listen online as we celebrate the Liverpool Bowling Squad in their 2025-26 season. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora has been the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse now for 4 years. Student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni join the show. You could go check everything out by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. For more information on the Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find the Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Tuesdays weekly at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining me here on the show where sports meets life. You can find all of our content with Binghamton by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. The Onondaga Community College Lasers have been exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, celebrating your Lasers in a way that they've never had before, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni having consistent coverage in what we call the Laser Lounge. You will find your Lasers every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be featuring them next week in the first week of February. You can find our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our OCC playlist. For more information, go to onondagalazers.com and go Lasers. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call, I want to thank Papa Joe for our coverage of the NFL and college football. I want to thank the VP of Communications for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, Mr. Scottie Rodgers. I want to thank them both for professionally and personally being amazing people that have given me opportunities and believed in me in my life. God bless to Papa Joe, Scotty, and the fam. Shout out to my cousin Maureen. God bless, and may he guide you toward him, guard you from everything that is not. May miracles continue to happen, and may you be well, stay well, and if you need to, get well and stay well. There's nothing that is more powerful than God, nothing that God cannot handle. And in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, I pray, Holy Spirit, I pray for nothing but good things, for healing, for health, safety, happiness, and to be filled with all of your most precious gifts. Cousin Mo, to do God's will and be well. May those go together. And may you have a beautiful day, night, and so on, whether you're traveling, staying put, or both. And may the travel for Papa Joe and Mary be great as well. And I just pray and I hope for all good things, for God's hand to be seen in every part of your life, and for your days to be long, fun, and go by slowly. The same for your nights, and for you to have plenty of life, and may you just be getting started. So to Cousin Mo, I love you, and to all of your loved ones, to Jeremy, to Jessica, to Papa Joe, to Mary, Joey, my mom, and my dad, and of course myself. I want to just say that we love you, we appreciate you, and I pray for all of us. So God bless on that. With that being said, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I say God bless, no stress. Do your best. And we look forward to seeing you, God willing, tonight at Avicoli's, Thursday, January 29th at 6 p.m., celebrating Liverpool Athletics, Liverpool High School, our community, and the Liverpool Bowling Squad.